Action, I guess.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah,
1,
I
2,
guess
3,
so.
go.
All right. This is going to be our first podcast. Welcome, everybody, to The Right Show.
That's what we're calling it, I guess.
I guess so. Welcome, everybody.
How'd you sleep last night?
It was all right. I woke up a couple of times, but for the most part, did pretty well over the jet lag.
Jet lag.
Yeah, well, I was in Taiwan.
You think you still jet lag?
No. I'm saying I'm over the jet lag.
Oh, nice.
So that's good. Right, that was a couple of weeks back. My name is Brian.
I'm Paco.
This is our little pop culture commentary.
I'm a commentator now.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. We'll basically cover a couple of the weekly or daily news and things that are popping.
We're observing
and give
America.
You our popular or unpopular take, but honest take, I guess.
Always try to be honest.
Yeah. All right, kick it off.
Should we get started off with the polls, maybe?
Nah. I think we need to talk about Diddy stuff.
Dude, that Diddy stuff is
Diddy party.
Crazy.
I think it's funny because of all the crazy news about Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Sean Combs, however you want to call him. And by the way, I grew up in that time frame.
Oh, that's right. He was like, when you think of a rapper, you think of P. Diddy immediately.
Well, I don't think of P. Diddy immediately. I think usually of Tupac. But there was a lot of beef there between them, right? So it's weird that he's back in the news for the last basic half a year almost, I think, or at least 4 or 5 months. And what also is crazy, no, we're not sponsored by Igloo or whatever. But the thing about P. Diddy's situation that's funny to me is that his music now is getting more streamed than ever, which I think it's a real weird byproduct. I would have imagined all these people would be trying to say, no, we don't want to listen to his music, we're going to cancel him and all that. But instead, he's skyrocketed on the music stream list.
I think it's pretty funny. You know what I think happens? They're like, for especially those younger people, like me or even younger, like, who's P. Diddy?
That's true. That's true.
They'll just type something online or go on Spotify or Apple Music and just like type in his name real quick, listen to a song, and obviously that boosts his numbers up.
No, it totally makes sense, but at the same time, I just thought there would be a whole line of people trying to cancel him. Right. But I guess not really, because
isn't that so particular? Like, this whole cancel culture phenomena is, I guess, selective in a way, because
you cancel who you want to cancel only, and not for what they did, I feel.
Right.
And actually, if I had to guess, I feel like he's gonna get away with all of this stuff with a slap on his wrist. I don't think he's gonna.
As far as I'm concerned, he wanted to pay, or was willing to pay $50 million for a bond or a bailout.
I mean, isn't he like a almost billionaire or something?
This is
it's
money he could acquire, very easily.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that he has, let's say, necessarily $50,000 in literal cash sitting around in his bank account or something. I doubt it.
But he could come to it.
But there would be a way to,
Yeah, when you're handling,
and if it's a $50 million bond or whatever that is, and it's only 1/10 of it, isn't it? So it's like, really, you only got to secure $5 million or something like that.
And then it got rejected apparently by the court. So,
right, by the judge. Yeah.
So anyways. Baby oil?
I don't even know what that is about. What's about?
Like,
what?
Apparently, while Homeland Security went into his home and they found just hundreds of bottles of baby oil.
Do you think that's like alleged, or is that like real?
By
the way, everything we're talking about P. Diddy right now is alleged. All right, so we don't want to get in trouble with some,
Yeah, it could still be a different P. Diddy.
Some that language policing from YouTube.
Yeah, but that's just kind of weird. Like, why would anybody talk about baby oil
or talk about? I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know. It is weird. I mean, I wonder what he's doing with all that baby oil. That feels kind of. You have to. I'm uncomfortably laughing. I'm not laughing because I approve. Right, I'm very uncomfortably laughing at the implications that that comes with. I'm not very comfortable right now, to be honest.
But whatever he's using that baby oil with or for, yeah, I mean that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I cannot think of any good reason to have 100 bottles of baby oil if this is really true.
Yeah, like even if you do use it for sex, like I don't know why you need that many.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean it's a it's
I don't
a
know.
freak party.
Like, do you
That's what
just do
they
you
call
just
it, right?
like?
It's a freak
Let's
party
imagine
or
it's
it's a
all
freak
real.
off. It's a freak off. That's what they
Yeah,
call it.
isn't that so funny? I can't believe that's a legal term, but
I mean,
I would think
I
the
think
word
you are allowed to have parties in which you engage in that behavior,
yeah.
hedonistic behavior,
Yeah,
which
I mean
is
orgies are
you're allowed
historical.
to, right? Right.
Orgies are historical. Like it's not
Right.
something new.
I also do think that it is funny that we're finally talking about it now like it's a bad thing, but all these years have gone by where he's been hosting these white parties, right?
Yeah, I think that's what they're called. Yeah.
And I'm assuming that's what's been happening this whole time, allegedly.
We think
Right,
maybe not.
right. So
maybe.
I'm saying if allegedly these things have always been happening, but now all of a sudden it's considered a bad thing. But I guess there are other things, right? Like he's being charged with racketeering. He's being charged with
RICO charges.
trafficking.
Yeah, human trafficking. So
yeah, sexual assault or things like that. There's again alleged. So and there's also allegations that he has been recording everybody to kind of have something to blackmail them.
I've heard and I've heard these recordings, and I don't know about their like anything else about this whatever happens about B Diddy.
Right.
I don't know if it's actually true or not or AI generated or anything, but yeah, it's all pretty crazy. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I can totally believe it simply because this is what I believe of wealthy people or people with a lot of power. I don't even think wealth. I think it's more power.
Yeah,
when you've accumulated so much power or influence, at some point you may feel as if your life has nothing more to it.
Right.
And so you start doing the weirdest things, like trying to find a way to feel an external sense of like stimulus in your life, as for example, okay, cheat on your wife, or have multiple 10 families. Hoes on the side,
yeah,
right.
What's that thing you use this term?
Have babies you don't know about, have orgies, things like that are just really out there.
You lost the novelty in things? Or
yes, the novelty wears off, right?
Novelty wears off.
And then you start doing more and more strange things that you never in your wildest dream would have even considered doing. I think that's kind of what happens,
all of a sudden, the crazy stuff becomes a new normal for you, and then you
and then that gets boring, right?
It gets boring. You
so like these freak off parties at first, they were probably just very normal.
Yeah,
standard orgies, whatever that means. Yes, standard orgies now have lost their novelty, and you begin to think, well, we probably need to do something even more taboo, and
something even more crazy.
Maybe
even more.
That's kind of what brought him down this rabbit hole. Because I don't think, first of all, let's start off with the facts, right? I mean, he was involved in the time frame of gangster rap and all of that, which whatever that means. It wasn't like people were saying, yeah, Puff Daddy is this perfect, kind-hearted gentleman that just loves humanity and makes music to, heal the world or something like that. He wasn't a saint, right?
He set the standard for rappers to become businessmen, right? As well.
Well, yeah.
Jay-Z, he was tough.
Mogul. He was a mogul.
Yeah, he was a mogul. He embodied this character of being tough, of being black, and everything that it means. So, yeah.
Right. He made it seem like he embraced his culture, and at the same time, he also created culture, and all the while being able to make money doing that, which I think is I'm okay with it, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
But
everybody
what
should
I
have
feel a lot of
whatever.
times is all the people that surrounded him at that time that were kind of leeching off of him, they could have said something, but then now they're finally saying something, and then the world is finally tuned to it. But if I had to guess, it's been happening for a long time. It's not like this just happened last year.
Same with the whatever Epstein Island thing.
Right.
It's just
It does kind of feel that way.
it like yeah, like you said.
And also that
Disproportionate
video
amount
that came out,
of
I
wealth.
want to say it was like 4 or 5 months ago, May or something. Casey Ventura, I think is her name.
Yeah.
I think it was his girlfriend or baby mama or something
I
like
remember that
that.
story.
And well, I don't know if you saw the footage, but he literally knocked her clean out. He was dragging her, like she was trying to hide. I think she was trying to get to the elevator and like escape almost. And then all of a sudden he comes out of his door and the hotel door, and then he's chasing her down, and then he grabs her and then knocks her out. Which I mean, I'm just not even surprised. I'm not even surprised.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it does say something about his character.
Yeah, it says something about him, and I mean, I just hope obviously justice is served. The human trafficking stuff, that all seems super weird to me. But I mean, we'll see what happens, right? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
How this
all
happens.
Allegations, guys.
Yeah, we don't know what's true or not, really.
Yeah.
I don't know who I am.
I know which side I am on it in terms of like what I believe, but I'll.
Yeah. We definitely don't.
You know, I think we've made it clear that we don't
Yeah.
condone this type of behavior.
So moving on to something different. I keep hearing the word poll. Like I feel like that's the word of 2024. Like everybody.
Well, it was also the word
media
in
is talking
16, where they were always saying, yeah, the polls are favoring Clinton, and Hillary just looks so far ahead. I remember there was a casino in which people were placing bets on who's going to be the president.
Really?
And that happens every year, by the way, every election year. But this casino was so sure that Clinton was going to win that they already paid out, even before election day. They paid out all their online customers.
That is crazy.
Before the election even happened, they were just like, yeah, we know Clinton's going to win, so whoever plays bets on Clinton already got paid.
Is that like a traditional casino?
No, like, yeah, you could go and bet on. There's always betting lines and stuff like that for all sorts of funny things, whether it's sports or
the craziest thing that they would bet on would be animal racing, and that's it. But
yeah, there are bets on even the primaries, even you know, is it going to be Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump? You know, things like that.
So
yeah,
American.
But it's funny because the bet was placed ahead of time. The polls came out, and then the casino was like, "Yeah, well,
she's gonna win.
Yeah, she's gonna win it." I don't know if they ever got to collect their money back, but I imagine they cannot do it because how are you gonna ask for millions and millions of dollars back from people you've already paid out?
Yeah,
but I just think it's silly though. But
they're looking at a lot of losses there. Anyway,
that's the reason I don't take polls seriously, to be honest with you. I think this is what I believe is that polls in general are mostly done with the intent to almost serve as propaganda. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the knowledge is really limited, but I do have a couple of things that I remember learning while I was in high school and things that I can reflect on now. Back when I used to study, I was taking a psychological class. I think it was AP Psych, and there the book would explain how sometimes asking people questions, you can get a specific answer from them. Right? Yeah. So let's say I word a question. Do you think here? I'm going to give you several questions, right? So the first one would be, do you think Kamala Harris is going to win the 2024 presidential election? Right. So that's one format where you're already putting the candidate's name in your head, right? So you're like thinking about it.
Right.
And then I can give you a multiple choice
It's almost
answer.
Slightly manipulative.
Yeah. And then I can give you a multiple choice answer with obviously her name and Trump and I don't know, Kanye West. And then I think that you would be likely to choose the name that you see because you already read it in the question as if it's implied that you're expected to answer Kamala Harris.
Right.
As opposed to as if I ask you a question formulated like, who do you think is going to win the 2024 president?
Right. It's a little bit more open-ended and you let the person decide for themselves what to write down.
Because when you're testing somebody, even if it's for a quick little 5-minute poll, you want them to still think of an answer by themselves, right? You want them to acquire,
Well,
to
you might
hopefully.
think that, but what I guess I am, we're agreeing with each other in that I think these polls are created with the intent of getting the right, quote unquote, the correct response. And as a result, I just don't think they're fair. I think they're biased.
Yeah, it's look, it's difficult. I mean, I know this because with some of my teachers, I was really good friends, and I would see, and they would explain to me how difficult sometimes it is to create a test.
Yeah.
Sure, creating a poll, a nationwide poll, is somewhat difficult, even if you have a team of 30 people agreeing on whether you should put the Trump name first or the Kamala name second, or vice versa. That people are going to disagree on that.
Right.
Should we even? How should we structure this question? These are
Right.
all like
And you
really.
can't possibly find 30 non-biased people perfectly non-biased, right?
That is.
We're all going to lean one way or another on something.
That is really difficult, especially today in America, right? Where
Yeah.
everybody seems to have something to say. Everybody wants or believes that they're right too.
Yeah.
Would never even consider themselves being wrong.
I just don't think it's possible. I just don't think it's possible to find perfectly non-biased people. And in fact, I don't believe in the term being moderate anymore in today's world, because I just don't think there's a lot of moderate people. I think most people who are moderate, they're, for the most part, they're kind-hearted people, probably, who have great
nice
intentions,
True.
but haven't fully fleshed out what all of these policies do a lot of times. So then they kind of lean in the middle of like, oh, let's do the thing that makes everybody happy. But the problem is, what makes a group of people happy oftentimes really does hurt the other side of that. And so, anyways, I mean, I tend to be a lot more libertarian in my leanings. I don't like it when the government gets involved in too many things. And I feel like these polls, while they're not done by the government,
Right.
I feel that these polls oftentimes are done by at least somewhat left-leaning organizations. And then because of that, it makes it very hard for me to believe in them. Because another real factor is that a lot of times when you poll somebody who, let's say, is in a certain specific, okay, for example, let's say if you poll somebody who happens to be black, and they might not be comfortable and say, yeah, I'll probably be voting for Trump. So they might just say like, oh, I'll vote for neither of them.
Right.
And come voting day, they might just vote for Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't really know what's going on in a lot of people's minds, but a lot of times my understanding, based on, other such podcasts that I've heard, is that people do sometimes want to vote for Trump, but then will refuse to outright say so in a polling situation. So you just never really know if it's real or not. And if I had to guess, whatever the polls say about Trump, whether he is a point ahead or a point behind, I tend to think that it is a little bit better for Trump in the real outcome itself. So I'll give you an example. I think it was 2020 when there was a poll that said that Donald Trump would get 8% of the votes. I think it was sub 50-year-old black men. So 18 to 50, essentially. It was, I think, 8% of the votes. And then it turned out that he got 18% of the votes, right? So that's more than double that number.
Yeah.
And I don't think so. I don't think the polls are right most of the time about that. And then the second thing is, currently there's a recent poll that came out that showed that the same 18 to 50-year-old black men, 25% are saying they're going to vote for Trump. If I had to guess, maybe it's 30%, not 25.
Yeah. And
right?
We've already seen, I mean, some rappers, maybe of not great importance or not great relevance right now, but supporting.
Right. I think it's
Republican
become
Party.
okay to support Trump. That's the difference.
Yeah.
It's become okay to support him, and
which is different from how it was, like 10 years ago. Like I remember this.
Well, not 10 years ago. I would say the last 8 years.
Right, because I remember this song by Mac Miller called Trump, I think.
We might have to bleep that out for the kids.
And that's yeah, like that's an example of culture not accepting the fact that Trump is okay.
Right.
Or even a considerable or decent person on any respect. So
Right.
yeah, things
I
have
think
changed.
though ultimately when it comes down to it, I think whatever I see on the polls, I just think it leans actually in reality a little bit more than that for Trump. So let's say it's 44% Trump, I would think it's 46, 47%.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
crazy. It's
that's what I
crazy.
think.
Another thought experiment, or not experiment, but just a situation that I recall is this, like, if you're in a room with 500 people and half of the room stands up to applaud, or to give a standing ovation to somebody, you're gonna feel this peer pressure to also stand up and be a part of that standing ovation, right? Even though
Right.
maybe you didn't want to stand up because you're tired and you want to leave, whatever concert or show that you're watching. So I do think that there's a little bit of that, in the world that we live in, especially in the state that we live in, where it's so many people, supporting Harris just so blindly, even though she just actually came out of nowhere,
Right.
making herself
Yeah.
portraying herself as a candidate that.
I think there's also a little bit of pushback on the way that she became the nominee because she didn't win the primaries on the Democratic
Right,
side.
there
She
was no vote.
essentially is the
It's a
probably
voteless
what the
candidate.
first candidate to not have received a single vote and became the
The
nominee for the
face of,
party
yeah, the face of.
of one of the two main parties, right? So it's very strange to be able to pull that off and not have the news outlets freak out over it, which I think also tells you a little bit about the state of our media. And maybe that's why we exist, because while we're not perfect in our dissection of things, I feel like at least we can provide a humble opinion about some of these things, which I just think it's a little bit strange to be able to just say, okay, well, we're gonna make her the nominee now. And if I were a Democrat, I would probably be a little bit upset about it, because if a Republican did the same thing, I would be upset about it. And like I said,
I
I'm
would
not
be
a
so mad.
Republican technically. I would call myself a conservative, or maybe a libertarian conservative, a blend of that. Um, but it's just very confusing to me that that's something that's acceptable. And it seems like most of the media personalities are totally okay with that, which I have my concerns.
Uniformly
Yeah, yeah,
okay with that.
yeah.
Almost like,
And they all tout how qualified she is, how long she's been in government, and all of that. And I'm like, yeah, well, if she's that qualified, how come she couldn't go through the primaries the way
yeah.
that every single person in the past has done it? The fact that she's so qualified, are you saying she's so good at her job that we're just going to do that moving on in the future? We're just going to constantly just put
It's
whoever
just,
we think's the most
yeah.
qualified?
It's just crazy. Like, you should be able to question yourself. I mean, even in the Republican Party, a lot of people don't like Trump, right? They didn't want
Right,
him to be the
right. But and
candidate.
Trump had to go through that. He
Yeah,
has
he
to go
had
through the
to
primary.
be roasted and
Yeah,
still be
yeah,
disliked by his own
exactly,
teammates, you could say, right?
exactly.
Um, that seems more real to me.
Yeah,
And yeah, it could be because of his
I agree.
reputation, whatever. But there's a certain level of, like, self-diagnosis or I don't know,
Yes.
questioning that is required for the best thing to come
I
out of
think
a
you need to go
party.
through the ringer to prove yourself.
Right? Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And
You need to go through the
I
ringer.
don't feel that she did that. And I don't feel that the media uh, is giving that fact enough attention. I feel like the media are in lockstep with the government, which I think is crazy to say that, right? In America, that the media now is in lockstep with one branch or one party of the government, and I am sorely disappointed by that, and that's all I think about it. I mean, polls right now are showing that it's a super tight race in Pennsylvania. Both candidates are spending a lot of time there. Kamala Harris, I think it's kind of like a joke that she's basically living in Pennsylvania right now because she needs to win that state.
Mhm.
Because my understanding, and
It's
again,
battleground.
I'm not an analyst or anything like that when it comes to polls, but if she doesn't win Pennsylvania, she doesn't win. That is a must-win state amongst a couple of others, but that is the win state that she needs to have. That is her win condition at a bare minimum.
Yeah.
If she doesn't lock that in, it doesn't matter if the other swing states go her way. So She's spending all that time there trying to campaign for it. The polls show that it's very tight and it's all within a margin of error one way or the other. Um, I don't know what exactly her selling point there is, though, because my feeling is this: if she could have fixed the issues that plague us, whether it's in the US or it's in Pennsylvania, why hasn't she already done it? She's had nearly 4 years to be a part of it. And to all the people who always say, oh, no, but the vice president doesn't do anything. Well, if that were true, then I would counter with, then why does it even exist? That candidate role of being vice president. Why does the vice president even have a debate? We have a debate coming up actually, for the vice presidents. Like,
Yeah.
why would we even care what they think if their job is to literally do nothing but wait until the president is gone, so that just in case we can fill that role in? And also, wouldn't the idea of you picking a vice president be that that vice president should enact your policies in case you're no longer around, right?
Yeah.
So in light of all of that, then I just don't get it. Why would you say that vice presidents don't matter? So I think she does matter. I think her job was to enact the policies that Biden would enact in case he wasn't around, which I'm not going to say, other than allegedly, it seems like he's not very much involved in governance right now, at least for the last year even. And I wonder who is. I'm curious actually. Is it Kamala or is it somebody else? Is it the Obamas? Is it Clinton? I don't know who it is.
Just yeah, and then just to speak on my point earlier too, it's look, if you think that you are qualified for this job, I want to see your face. I want to see you do the work. I
Yeah.
want to see you in
Oh, you mean doing interviews or what?
maybe not in full detail. Some similar, yes,
Right.
that's obviously included, but maybe not in full detail. But like actually, show up to the press and be pressed by them. Be like allow people to ask you questions about what your policies are. As far as I'm concerned, candidates usually have a website where you can read their policies. But why do I have to do that? Why can't you just tell me, the voter, what you're
Right.
gonna do to change the situation, to change the state of our country? She's just hiding, and I've seen people say both things. I've seen people say, hey, that it's actually a good thing that she's hiding because conservative media will only attack her, will only shame her, blah 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 blah. Well, if you're gonna be the representative of our country, you should be able to
I
sit
think you should be
down
able
in
to
a
state your policies and why you're different, for example, than Biden, if you are different. Or you should be able to say, I am the same. We're going to continue doing what we've already achieved, and it's going to be more or less the same. Then
yeah.
that's fine too.
Yeah.
But say it. I don't think there's any reason
I just wish she
to
came
hide.
out. I just wish she came out of wherever
Yeah.
she is. I know that she has done rallies and attended meetings and dinners or whatever, but I mean,
I
go into
will
the
say
public
this.
eye.
I
Go into
do
the public eye.
feel in general that she did win the debate with Trump. My issue is that she won it because she was able to goad Trump into a little bit of his egotistical side. Talking about rally size and all that, which is not really what America cares all that much about. But I don't feel like she won it based on her policies being better, if that makes sense. She didn't state a specific policy that she was
or
going to enact, and then
or a
Trump
law or something.
stumbles over it. That wasn't what happened. It was more like she goaded him into these firefights, and then he lost the battle because he lost the focus of what the battle should be about. I think if he had just constantly hammered in, hey, if you are going to make all these great changes, you're the party of change, you're the party of renewing America. Why haven't you done it? You've had 4 years, right? That should have been what he should have hammered in.
Yeah,
But
I think that we should definitely see more debates from both of them. I don't know why they're not, so eager to come out again on stage.
yeah,
I hope we see more debates. I hope that she comes out, even if it's late, I hope to just see her on camera being pressed. That's it.
yeah.
That's all I want to see.
I just wish there was a little bit more pushback also as well, from media outlets, to not just let her, uh,
Yeah, like where's all the critics? You know what I mean?
right, not just let her kind of say things that have no backing. You know, she says she's gonna, create opportunities. I think that we should ask, what does that mean?
Yeah.
How do you create opportunities?
Like
Are
I can't just
what are your
say
fiscal policies that create opportunities?
I'm gonna paint
Right,
your house red.
right,
Well, how am I gonna do that, Brian?
right,
Right? Like you're gonna ask me, well, how are you gonna
right.
do that,
Well,
Paco?
but also things like, I think they should ask her, why were you so against the border policies of Donald Trump, and then now you're supporting having a border again? I think those are questions worth having. I wish that somebody would ask that, and it seems like nobody's wanting to ask those questions because they're tough to answer.
Yeah, I took the answer. Look, we have to wrap it up. We have to go home now. But wait, we are in home.
We are in
Do
my
we go?
home.
Do we live here?
I live here.
Do I live here?
You don't live here.
Okay. Time to go home.
All right. Well, welcome to the Right Show. Thank you so much. Would love to have your subscription. We'll try to earn it.
Like, subscribe, comment,
We'll
share
get
this
better
video
as
with somebody you know.
we continue learning how to do this. Would love to have you guys on board with us as we grow into our new
New
podcast.
thing. A little new thing.
All right.
Thank
See you
you.
later.